And welcome back to the Chris Salcedo Show on Newsmax TV. Here's what's trending at the bottom of the hour. Dozens of House Democrats are urging Joe Biden to give up his sole authority over the United States nuclear arsenal. The request was initiated by California Congressman Jimmy Panetta earlier this week, calling on Biden to install checks and balances on nuclear commands. In a tweet, Panetta wrote that past presidents have exhibited concerning behavior that cast their doubt on their judgment. Democrats are suggesting alternatives to the president's sole authority. This includes requiring the vice president and Speaker of the House to concur. Why do Democrats really want Biden to relinquish his sole authority on the nuclear codes? We'll discuss that in greater detail a little bit later on with political analyst Dick Morris. Meanwhile, North Korea apparently developed their nuclear missile programs last year, violating international sanctions. What else is new? Diplomat for the United Nations says North Korea produced fissile material and upgraded its ballistic missile infrastructure in the past year. They have displayed a wide range of new ballistic missile systems at military parades. The White House says they are planning a new approach to North Korea that includes a review of allies. In other words, Biden will sit there in the White House and do nothing. Newsmax's own John Gizzi says sources close to the Joe Biden have told Newsmax that his controversial Office of Management and Budget nominee, Neera Tanden, will request that her nomination be withdrawn. None of the 50 Senate Republicans are voicing support for Tanden, and Democrat Senator Joe Manchin also announced he is a no vote on her. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said again today that administration officials continue to make calls to find a path forward for Tanden's confirmation. Tanden is a left-wing, bomb-throwing, crazy person who has said vile things about people of faith and members of both political parties. The leftists' mainstream media, including ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, and MSNBC, have all not covered the current sexual harassment claim against New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. This goes against their favorite party's mantra that, quote, all women are to be believed, end quote. Former Cuomo aide Lindsey Boylan alleged in a published essay Wednesday that Cuomo went out of his way to touch her body, forcibly kiss her on the lips during a briefing, and suggested they play strip poker while on a flight for work. New York Congresswoman Elise Stefanik issued a statement calling for Cuomo to resign over his twin scandals of harassment, the harassment claim anyway, and lying about the China virus death toll across his state's nursing homes. Meanwhile, the mainstream press is amending the Democrat socialist standard. Quote, all women are to be believed unless they're accusing Democrats, end quote. New York District Attorney Cyrus Vance Jr. has received copies of former President Donald Trump's tax returns. This follows the Supreme Court's ruling that rejected Trump's efforts to prevent them from being handed over. Vance is conducting an investigation into whether or not Trump and his businesses lied about the value of their assets to gain favorable loans and tax benefits. Former president called the whole charade a fishing expedition and a continuation of the greatest witch hunt in history. Change in course for Georgia's former Republican Senator David Perdue, announcing this week he will not re-enter the race for U.S. Senate in 2022. Perdue released this statement saying, in part, this is a personal decision, not a political one. Perdue's announcement comes after former Senator Kelly Loeffler opened the door for a rematch with Democrat Socialist Raphael Warnock next year. Perdue again stated that Georgia is not a blue state and that more Georgians vote, the better Republicans do. If only Georgia could be made to answer for violating their own election laws in election 2020. New Mexico's Democrat Socialist governor is being heavily criticized over her office's recent spending from a taxpayer-supported expense fund. New records show Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham authorized nearly $13,500 in 2020 to be spent on personal purchases of groceries, dry cleaning, and alcohol. These purchases were made for Grisham's large in-person staff meeting that she hosted at the governor's mansion. And this all came while she repeatedly urged New Mexico residents not to have big gatherings in their home during the ongoing China virus pandemic. Despite the backlash, Grisham is continuing to work and says she's taking the citizens' hardship seriously. That's what all the booze was for, I guess.
I like Joe Biden, but the agenda is AOC, Pelosi, Schumer and Bernie Sanders. So no, I don't think Joe Biden's in charge.
Yikes. Senator Lindsey Graham speaking with our very own Greg Kelly last night. Senator Graham seems to think the radical leftists are the ones pulling Mr. Biden's puppet strings. Joining us now to discuss this, the latest surrounding the Biden administration, is former advisor to both President Clinton and President Trump, and the host of Dick Morris Democracy right here on Newsmax TV. Dick Morris, glad to see you, sir. As always, welcome back to the program. I know you heard Senator Graham there, his comments that Biden is not in charge of what's going on in his own administration. What do you think of his comments?
Well, there's a tape circulating around that I hope you're going to play of Biden speaking, where he literally has a brain freeze. He literally can't finish his sentence, and then he spews gobbledygook for a few seconds after that. This speech, which he gave before the Munich Economic Summit, is downright embarrassing. And 30 House Democrats, that's 30 House Democrats, not Republicans, have sent a letter to Biden asking him to recuse himself from having the sole authority over nuclear weapons. That is the first time in 61 years of America being a nuclear power that anybody has suggested such a thing to a president. And I believe that it's very significant. I think it relates to his growing dementia. And I also think that this may be preparatory down the road, another year or two, to invoking the 25th Amendment to make Harris president. There are some other signs that point to that.
Yeah, I've been of the mind that there are other people writing his executive orders, and the only decision that Mr. Biden is making in the White House is which crayon he's going to use, what color crayon he's going to use to sign those executive orders. I'm going to play that soundbite here in a minute, but can I offer an alternative to you, Mr.
Please.
Morris, and get you to weigh on this? Maybe those Democrats want to make sure that if Communist China does a preemptive attack, that America won't be able to readily respond. Thus, that's why they want to put in a whole bunch of bureaucratic stops to make sure that America can't respond. What say you?
I don't believe that. I think these men are patriots, and they wouldn't want America to be wiped out. But listen, look at the evidence. The 25th Amendment provides that only the vice president can initiate this proceeding to strip the president of office and turn it over to the VP. But she needs the approval of a majority of the cabinet and 2/3 of the Congress. But the Speaker and the Congress can pass a law designating a body other than the cabinet to make that decision. And Pelosi introduced just such a bill in the last days of the Biden presidency to set up such a committee. It hasn't passed yet, but it's pending.
The Trump presidency, yeah.
And when you...
I remember that. Yeah, she put that in the final days of Trump. Well, let me play this soundbite, so I want to get you to comment on this. This is Mr. Biden, and just watch this, folks, and you guys be the judge at home, and we'll get Mr. Morris to comment on it.
The only way to spare more pain and more loss, the only way, these millstones no longer mark our national mourning. These milestones, I should say, no longer mark our national mourning.
Mr. Morris,
you believe that?
We've seen. We saw that throughout the entire campaign. ABC, NBC, CBS,
Never as graphic
the New York
as
Times,
this.
and the Washington Post. Yeah, they did their best to hide all of that. So this is just more of the same as far as I'm concerned. But you think it's indicative?
Oh my God, nothing as drastic as this. I watched all those clips. This is a absolute brain freeze followed by gibberish. Ask any doctor and he'll tell you that this is a sign of severe dementia that probably is getting worse. And then you couple that with this Democratic initiative of 30 Democrats asking a Democratic president to divest himself of authority over nuclear weapons. That is huge. That is unbelievable. And I think that may presage, may be the early steps to invoking the 25th Amendment to make Kamala Harris president.
Wow. Absolutely incredible. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Because the rest of the press certainly wouldn't play that, Mr. Morris. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
This is the first
nearly
time
3 dozen Democrat lawmakers. Yes, thank you, sir. Nearly 3 dozen Democrat lawmakers signed that letter to President Biden, encouraging him to give up those launch codes, and we'll make sure to continue to follow this as time allows us.
Hi, Emma Reckenberg here. If you like this video, there's a whole lot more to see on Newsmax TV. You can watch for free right here on our YouTube live stream and be the first one here each time our experts break down real news. Just hit that subscribe button, ring the bell icon, and stay with us on America's fastest growing cable news channel, Newsmax TV.